The Showdowns, they're one of the great rivalries in Australian sport, we know. Showdown 38. And Port are actually taking a fairly commanding lead now. It's 21-17, and whilst it took them a fair while to shake off the Crows, it was a really exciting game. But Port Adelaide, I guess, stamped themselves as the premiership threat we all thought they were.
Well, it was the best game of the weekend, I thought, and Adelaide was certainly a lot closer than what the scoreboard suggested in the end. There's a big differential between the inside 50s. It's a little bit of a concern for Ken Hinkley at the moment.
That's been the last 2 weeks.
50, yeah, it's been the last 2 weeks. They've still won, so they're doing something right. But they got beaten by nearly 30 on the weekend. So look at that. You've got minus 28, minus 29, minus 33, minus 36. I don't think that's a successful formula for winning premierships.
Interesting, though, the biggest question after the match was, is it a tactic of Ken Hinkley? Is he doing something that we should know about? He addressed that straight after the match.
It's not the way we want to play footy. It's not our go to have to defend that many entries. And it won't survive if you continually give up that many entries. It's not the way to play. Yeah, if you're against a really good press team, and that's what Adelaide are, a really good press team, they'll structure up really well behind the ball. And when you try to quick kick out of your back 50, you tend to give up repeat entries, and that's what we've done the last quarter, last week, and a fair bit of tonight.
You've mentioned this a number of times. If you high press, as the Crows are doing under Phil Walsh, it can work and you get lots of entries, but if it gets through, it's pretty damaging. Yeah,
it does. It takes real discipline from 18 guys. You see here just the real ease of some of the goals, especially if Port Adelaide can keep flicking the ball on, which they did, and they did it really well in the first quarter. They were able to get 5 or 6 goals from the back half. You see this. They're just very quick end-to-end goals. Now, they were able to tighten it up a little bit, but the problem is if 1 or 2 players for Adelaide, they switch off or not quite concentrating, clubs can score goals very quickly against you. But Adelaide were able to turn it around, and in the second quarter, they end up with about 22-4 inside 50s. But the real problem has been them butchering the footy, especially on their inside 50 entries, Jared.
I wonder if Paddy Wright is going to be one of the recruits of the year.
Well, to me, he's the perfect player for them. In fact, in some ways, I think he was the difference between the two sides. So many times, they had Eddie Betts down there, one out. They had their skipper up the ground too much for too long, in my view. But this bloke, he was able to do exactly this. It was a great kick to the top of the square, and that's something that the Crows couldn't find the player to do, and he has slotted into that side beautifully. They've got Schultz as well. They've got Westhoff. They're well primed for tall targets.
That could be the difference between making it to the second last week of the season or going all the way. Having that, A, quality second ruckman, but B, a bloke that can spend time forward and have a real impact. Yeah,
I'll be interested in Phil Walsh's analysis of this match. They create a lot of opportunities. Eddie could have kicked... He could have kicked 10 in reality. Yeah. He kicked 5-3 and a couple out on the full. But I don't think it's sustainable having him there. Tex Walker was well held by Alapati Carlo. Kicked a couple of goals. But he's working in congestion too often, is Tex Walker.
So tell me this, Brownie. Why would you... I know he's a great player, but why would you isolate Eddie Betts deep and not Tex Walker?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Tex should have been getting deeper throughout, and Tex has struggled the last 3 weeks. He's struggling to get his hands on the ball, so maybe they decided to get Tex up the field and get him to work, and that's why Betts ended up one out. Josh Jenkins went and played in the ruck a little bit more. But Betts was fantastic, and he is a tough matchup, isn't he, one-on-one? But it's not sustainable, and you're not going to win finals footy because we know the record of small forwards in finals. Tex has got to get himself up and going. He probably needs to spend a little bit more time deeper in a one-on-one.
One advantage of isolating a small up forward is you're never going to see a drop-off defender make a 2-on-1. Whereas if you've got a gun key forward, they're more likely to have someone pull back and drop in front of him. But it doesn't really happen to a small, does it?
No, it doesn't. I think the one thing Phil Walsh should take out of it, I thought their work rate was really good. I think they're a little bit down on ability compared to the opposition, a little bit down on polish. But the work rate was absolutely fantastic, and it actually produced a magnificent game. But time to move on.